Welcome to the Realizations Podcast. I'm Andrea Gordon, your host, and I'm excited to explore the world of real estate with you. In a world where perceptions often overshadow reality, Realizations seeks to redefine what it means to be a realtor. Join me as we peel back the layers of the industry, uncovering inspiring stories and celebrating the good in real estate. Whether you're a homeowner, a fellow realtor, or simply curious, this podcast is for you. Welcome to Realizations, where perceptions meet reality. Let's dive right in. Hi, everybody. Welcome again to Realizations. And this podcast is a setup for me to sort of explore all of the different types of things that go on in real estate, because I feel like the American public is kind of woefully uninformed about how complicated, how important, and how much a part of our local economies real estate actually is. And so I've been talking to agents from all over the country, been talking to vendors, all the people, the different sorts of people that realtors come in contact with every day, whose livelihood depends on our industry and our industry the way that it is practiced now. So today, my wonderful guest is Michael Gross, and he's coming to us from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, although today he's in, is it Braden?
Brandon, South Dakota.
Yeah. And I wanted to talk with Michael because he is not just a realtor, he's also a hero. And today's the main topic today is going to be about volunteerism and what realtors do for communities and what people do for communities in general. Those of you who know me know that my main focus in terms of my own charitable work is the Berkeley Humane Society. So I work a lot with animal rescue and helping people to have good pet guardian relationships and to save animals wherever I can. And I also work in the arts as a theater director, and I'm always raising money for different arts groups too. So in the case of Michael, he has really moved forward in his business. He's one of the top producing agents in the country, and he can tell us a little bit more about himself. Michael, tell us a little bit more about you and how you got into real estate.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I lived in California and Arizona quite a bit of my life, and I just felt like I never had any money and I wanted a little bit more. And so I heard about South Dakota. And so I moved up to South Dakota and I lived up here. And I got 3 jobs. I worked at 3M Manufacturing at 10 at night to 6 in the morning. I cooked for a daycare in the morning and I cleaned a church in the evenings to be able to save up to be able to buy my first house. And it was such an impactful event of buying the house that I said, I really like it. I really like getting into it. It wasn't something I got into right away. I actually wound up getting into porta potties, and I did portable toilets for many, many years until we were deciding we were going to sell off our company. And we wound up in the northern part of the state. We moved all the way down to the large city of Sioux Falls down here. And we moved into the suburbs of Brandon. Not like a big city. We are definitely still country. We have cows and everything else and running through and around. But that's where I decided about 9 years ago. I've been in real estate now, and I got into real estate and decided this is what I love to do. And this is what I want to do. It's my passion.
That's great. And you have a team of 4 people, and you do sales as well as listings. You are one of the top performing realtors in your whole area, in fact, in the whole country.
Yep.
And you've managed to do that from your corner of the world in Sioux Falls, which is pretty amazing. You also work in Minnesota, right?
I do. So I'm licensed in Minnesota and South Dakota. And yeah, we are very a small population up here. So to be able to sell, I mean, the average sale price for us, is right around that 380,000 for a house.
No, it's a feat. It's a feat, actually. Where I am in Berkeley, the median house price is $1,200,000. So it's a very, very, very different market. It's very, very hard to be here. And you shared with me some personal stuff around your life, and I wanted you to talk about it because volunteering is at the core of Michael's being. beyond the fact that he is this incredible high producing realtor, he also is the president of the St. Francis House. And can you talk a little bit about that and your own past as a homeless person?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it all goes back. And so the one thing we have up here is if somebody doesn't have a place to live, there's shelters just like everywhere else in the country. But what we created many, many years ago is called the St. Francis House. And what it is anybody can come off the streets and be able to stay with us. They have to do a background check to make sure that they don't have any domestic violence, anything like that. But we put them through a step program, right? So they start off on step one, they have to get a job. We actually work with employers that will help them get a job, start doing that. We also will call their parents back. I don't care if you're 50 years old, we're going to call your parents and say, does your child owe you money? And they have to pay back all of their debts, right? Which is the great thing, because we also work with the DOC, the Department of Corrections. And so we take low inmates, they can come out and actually stay at our house. So that way they're able to work and it's a little bit easier for them. But then they're able to pay back their restitutions. They're able to do that, where somebody getting out of prison, as soon as they're out, they still have that debt. They still have all that hanging out. And so they
Right.
tend to become repeat offenders, you
Right.
know? And again, like you said, it's important to me. I'm also a volunteer firefighter. I
Wow.
work with tons of different organizations all over my town. We actually just created an event called the Amazing Race that's happening on November 9th coming up, that my team we're putting on. We have 30 teams that will volunteer, or not, I'm sorry, not volunteer, that they will participate in it. And we use local businesses from around here that they'll go there. They have to do an event, either eating, physical or mental. And at the end, we're giving away $750 first place. So we like to
Awesome.
create events to give back.
That's really, really, really wonderful. And all of this came up for you because of your own past as a homeless person. And tell me a little bit about that. How did you initially end up as a homeless person, and how did you pull yourself out of it?
So my dad was Air Force. So every 4 years we moved. And when I was 10 years old, my mom committed suicide.
Oh.
And with my dad being in the Air Force, my dad was very busy all the time. And so by the time I was 13, 14, I was getting in trouble. I didn't know how to express myself. And I expressed myself through negative behavior, because you get attention through negative behavior. And so I wound up just taking off. We were in Colorado. I decided to take off. I wanted to go to California to be a movie star. All you do is show up in California and a movie star,
Yes.
right?
Oh, immediately. Yes.
That's it. What part do you want? And so I got there and I found out that that's not the truth. I wound up trying to sleep on park benches and everything else. I had an '84 Dodge Caravan, sleeping in that. I wound up in Arizona, in Phoenix, tried working there, doing some different stuff. And I just never felt that sense of home. And so that's where I found South Dakota.
And when you came to South Dakota and you worked your 3 jobs, which is also impressive in and of itself, and you pulled yourself up by your bootstraps and you got to the point where you had enough money to buy a house, you had what you explained was a slightly poor experience with a realtor. Can you elaborate on that a little bit for us?
I did. I did. I just felt, I was looking, it was such a happy experience for me, so exciting, something I looked forward to. And the house I was purchasing was $68,000. And I just felt that the agent I was working with was just kind of rude, condescending. She just really wasn't friendly. And I didn't know at the time that I could have fired her and
Yeah.
I could have found somebody that was better fit for me. And I just feel like there's a lot of people that don't realize that.
This
And
is part of
so,
my podcast. I want people to understand all of it, that you have a choice, that realtors also
yes,
have a choice to pick what clients they pick. And whenever you experience something where somebody feels demeaning to you in any way, shape, or form, you should be vocal about it and get out of there and go someplace where it feels more comfortable. So good for you realizing that then
yeah,
at the time. And that's what provoked you to go into real estate, it sounds like.
it did. It took me a little while, but it was always in the back of my mind. And I always talked about it. And when we sold our porta potty company, I just told my wife, I'm like, I don't know what to do. And she's
Mhm.
like, you need to get into real estate. And she was actually the one that pushed me towards it. And she just said, you love houses. Like, this is always stuck with you through the whole thing, that you were going to prove that real estate agents don't have to be mean.
Yes.
And so I thank my wife for that.
Very, very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I mean, I think we all have those sorts of experiences as realtors. When I first got into the business and I moved to an area of Oakland called Montclair, I
Mm.
went into an open house one day and there was an agent and he was reading the newspaper sitting in the corner. And I introduced myself and I was all excited because I was a new agent in the area and happy to meet him. And the second he realized that I was a realtor, he just turned off and basically said, "Oh, the bathroom's that way. You can do whatever you want," and went back to his paper. And it was so motivating to me. I was like, wow, I will clean up in this neighborhood because I will be personable to every single person I meet at an open house. And I will work hard to earn my business because this person was jaded. And, fast forward 6 months, I started marketing in that area. And
Wow.
I actually bought a house in that area. And it was the first week that I had moved in, and I had sent out a postcard, and I get a knock on my door. And you're young in the business, so I don't know if you know about this, but so I get a knock on my door, and it is that agent that I had met who had not given me the time of day once he found out I was an agent,
Yep.
saying, "You can't market in this area. This is my farm." And I was like, well, there's free choice and I can market any place I want.
Yes. Yeah,
and
exactly.
and I
Are
went
you
on
scared
to
of me marketing in that neighborhood because you're doing a bad job and you know everybody's going to leave?
exactly. So I actually took over the whole neighborhood at that point in time. So
That is so amazing.
yeah, I mean, we
It
all have
is.
those stories. And I think that sometimes you can learn from the negative stuff that comes your way as much as you can
Mhm.
learn from the positive stuff that comes your way. I mean, real estate is filled every day with interesting problems, sometimes, very sad stories that we come across because we're always meeting people when they've had someone die or getting a divorce or they've lost their job or they've had a baby or they're getting married or there's so many different life events that people are going through because real estate is always there, usually at a life change moment. And so we have to be very, very good
Yes.
with
Yep.
people, managing expectations, handling their emotions in what is a
Yeah.
very, very complex process.
Yep.
You seem like a really lovely human being, and that's just wonderful to me. I'm so glad that you're doing real estate and all of that. Tell me a little bit about what you think makes Sioux Falls real estate different than real estate in California or Arizona.
You know, we're still kind of the Wild West up here, I'll be honest with you. You know, we drive down the road, and again, I didn't see it as much in California, and maybe it's there, but we drive down the road and we wave at everybody as you're driving. You get that steering wheel wave. You go to the grocery store and you better expect to have a 20-minute conversation with somebody. We have fire pits out in our driveway, right? We don't like to hang out in our backyard. We hang out in our driveway. We put a fire pit right in the middle of our driveway with some lawn chairs and a cooler of beer, and you walk your dog around and you stop along the way to have a beer with this neighbor, and then you have another beer with this neighbor, and you talk to this neighbor. We don't go out. We go to people's houses. We do games nights. We do. I mean, and I'm sure it's the same across the country and all that stuff. But we are a
It,
very
it is it
heavy
is not.
agriculture state.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I
So
mean, you're describing something that's almost idyllic to someone like me coming, Berkeley and Oakland are very, very urban. And, if you were to do that, people would think you're nuts. I mean, half of the time
yeah.
you're walking down the street and you see people, they seem like they're talking to themselves, but actually they're talking on the phone.
Uh,
And it's a lot more isolate. I happen to know all my neighbors because I've sold pretty much everybody on my block their house, but
yep.
but um, but very often here people won't even know their neighbors. It's a very different culture.
It's crazy. We hang out with our neighbors every day. When we go on vacation, we're gone for a week. We don't even lock our house, right?
Oh
And
my
our
God.
neighbors just will come over and check on our house for us or do whatever, and it's not that big of a deal at all.
Wow.
I walk into my neighbor's house without even thinking about knocking. Like I would never even think about it. I just walk in, and
Um,
it's just the way it is.
wow, that's amazing. That's really amazing. It is so not that way here. I can't even tell you.
Yeah. I always
Here,
take it back to the Laura Ingalls Wilder. She's from South Dakota and Minnesota, the old TV shows.
mhm.
And so not far from us is the Laura Ingalls Wilder Ranch that you can go visit and learn all that stuff.
Oh, wow.
It is still quite a bit Laura Ingalls Wilder around here.
Wow.
We're friendly.
That's super lovely. How wonderful is that? Well, today you've talked to me about your volunteerism. You've talked to me about, being in South Dakota. You've talked to me a little bit about your past, and thank you for sharing that very personal stuff. I really appreciate that and being vulnerable. That's a wonderful thing. Um, how in South Dakota and Minnesota is real estate practice? Like, for example, in California, we do all of the paperwork in Northern California, I should say. We do all of the paperwork ourselves till close of escrow. In Southern California, the title officer, the escrow officer, I should say, handles all the paperwork. In New York, an attorney finishes a closing. How does
Yep.
it work? How does it work in South Dakota?
So we are not an attorney state, not at
Okay.
all.
Okay.
Minnesota is an attorney state, so there's a lot more legal stuff. A lot of stuff, and it's changing around here quite a bit. And of course, our contracts are very legal and all that stuff. But we are a big handshake state still. You can go and you can look at a lot for a builder, and if the builder's there and you're like, I like this lot, I want this lot, and the builder says it's yours, we shake hands. That's your lot. That builder will not sell that lot to anybody else. That is
Good
your
Lord.
lot, right?
Wow.
But then we have to go back to the office and we have to sign paperwork and we have to actually make it legal because
Mhm.
again, you do have fiduciary duties and everything else. So what we do is if I take you out and you're a buyer and I'm being a buyer agent, I'm going to have you sign an open doors form saying that I'm going to take you around. I'm going to open some doors for you. If you choose to have agency with me, then we would sign an agency agreement for me to be able
Mhm.
to work with you.
Like a
Then
buyer
we're going to
broker
go out.
agreement. Mhm.
Exactly. Yep. And then we're going to be able to take you out. We'll show you houses. When you decide, we will fill out all the paperwork. All the paperwork for the buyer will send off to the title company and also to the bank if they have a loan. And the bank kind of handles it. The title company handles all that. We give all the information to the title company, and the title company kind of takes it from there. The only thing we really do from that moment on is we would set up inspections.
Mhm.
And we would just make sure the process is going smooth, that everything's fine. If they need to get back in the house to be able to see the house, we can show them the house or any of that type of stuff.
So, a couple of things. How many pages long is your contract?
5.
Oh my Lord. Did you know that ours, with all the added on things, is at this point around 27 pages long? The
Yeah,
actual
and
contract itself is 16, but
that's crazy. Yeah, we're 5, and our disclosure is 4 pages. So total for the whole thing with the disclosure and everything is 9 pages. Yeah.
wow, that's amazing. I have disclosure packets that are over 100 pages long really frequently.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
yeah,
Yeah.
and do you have any point of sale ordinances where you are?
No. Uh-uh.
Okay, like for example, where I am, you have a sewer lateral ordinance, which means that the sewer line needs to be free and clear of debris or cracks all the way from the house to where it meets with the city line in the street. And if it isn't, either the buyer or the seller can pay for it, but somebody has to put a $4,500 deposit into the water district to hold until they can know that the line is certified. That's one of the point of sale ordinances. If you are in Oakland, your sidewalk has to be correct to a certain, I can't remember whether it's a fourth of an inch or an eighth of an inch to their specifications. And this can be very, very, very problematic at the close of escrow with people because sidewalks are expensive. Concrete is very expensive.
Oh
So,
yeah.
at the end of the day, you can have like a $30,000 item that occurs because of that sidewalk thing. Do you have any rent control in your area?
Uh-uh.
No. We have
Nope.
unbelievable rent control laws here. Basically in Berkeley, somebody will have to, murder someone to get taken out of a house. Um,
Jeez.
there
Yeah.
are eviction
No. I
controls.
mean, we're pretty laid back. Like I said,
Yeah.
we're still kind of the Wild West. Everything's done by handshake and all that. I mean,
Wow.
obviously we do have all our legal paperwork in that, but if you go up to somebody and they have a house for rent and you talk to them and you say, I'm interested in renting your house, we end with a handshake and we say, yeah, I will give you
Unbelievable.
my word and my honor that you have this house. It's
Well,
yours. You
I feel
know?
like you live in a better world, my friend. I really do. Because
Yeah.
handshakes, in California, one of the things that always cracks me up, I grew up for the most part in New York, and in California, when you have someone and it just like invite them to lunch, unless you reconfirm with them like twice, it's not real. So
Oh,
like you can have
wow.
a lunch date with somebody and you have to say, are we still on? Before you go. And whereas in New York, it's your word is your bond as far as that kind of stuff is concerned. You just,
Yeah.
everybody just does what they say they're going to do. So that was a hard
Yep.
thing for me
Well,
to
and see,
realize.
around here, everybody's related in a sense. You know what I mean? Like the
Yeah,
six
yeah,
degrees of separation is very
yeah,
big around here. You're like, oh, so this person and this person, because everybody had farms. So,
yeah.
around, like, let's use Brandon, for example, we have several different families that they're generation farms,
Oh
right?
yeah.
And
Oh
so then
yeah.
they've had kids and grandkids and all that stuff. And so there's a lot of different families. And so when you come to somebody and you say, this is what I'm going to do, and you don't do it,
Everybody knows.
everybody knows. Yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
talking instantly, everybody knows. And so your
Yep.
word is everything.
Yeah, no, and your word should be everything, honestly. It really, really should. Um, wow, that's just fascinating to me. The big thing I want to take away from today's conversation that we've had is how much realtors give back to the community. I'm incredibly impressed by the level of volunteerism that you are doing where you are. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And people, I don't think, realize how important community is to realtors. We all carry a little sort of Sioux Falls in our hearts. We wished it would be that way in our area.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you're getting a chance to live that out. I feel like it's paradisiacal what you're describing. um, Compared to our urban, my thoughts are like, oh, could somebody get shot here? Not,
Wow.
not,
Yeah. No, not
right.
around here. You're
Um, yeah, that's really amazing. And if
yeah.
people want to get a hold of you, if somebody has been so impressed by how much more civilized life is in Sioux Falls, how would they find you as a realtor? Can you recite off all your information for us?
Yeah, so it's Michael Gross, and I have Michael Gross Realty Group. We're with Heg Realtors, is our brokerage. My office is right on the main street in Brandon. We're small. We're only 10,000 people here, so not too hard to find. The big thing I would say is if you ever decide to come up to Sioux Falls, if anybody ever does, look me up. My number is really easy to find. My business is really easy to find. We are very small, but look me up. I would gladly drive anybody around town, be able to show you the different parts of Sioux Falls, all the outlying communities, all the great things that we have around here. I mean, there is some fantastic little small towns that are 100 people, 200 people, that are just, they're amazing. And the community is just such a great place. I can tell you again, going back to that, my truck is sitting out front. I drive a Nissan Titan, truck. Everybody drives trucks up here. My car keys are sitting in my cup holder right now, sitting out front, you know, not worried about it. People are very laid back. Like I said, we're handshake, but yeah, Michael Gross Realty Group, Heg Realty. My main office is in Brandon. I do have an office in Sioux Falls, and I'd love for people to come up, check out Mount Rushmore, check out the Badlands, check out the prairie, check out all the great stuff that we have for pheasant hunting, deer hunting, all the different activities that we have up here. It is definitely taking you back to Lori and Go Wilder days.
Wow. What is your website if someone wants to look you up?
michaelheg.com, I believe. Let me check real
So
quick
that's
just to
your
make
so
sure.
that's your email?
Michael@hegg.com is my email. .com is my website.
Awesome. Well, you are a lovely human being. Thank you for this opportunity to talk with you today. And it really
Yeah.
interesting to see what happens for realtors all across this wonderful country. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're welcome. Take good care. Bye-bye.
Yep. Bye.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Realizations Podcast. I hope our conversation has shed light on the true essence of real estate and the people behind it. As we wrap up, I want to extend my gratitude to our listeners for their support and engagement. Your feedback drives the heart of this podcast, and I look forward to continuing this journey with you. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider subscribing to the Realizations Podcast and leaving a review. Your support helps us reach more listeners and spread our message of positivity in the real estate industry. Until next time, remember to keep an open mind, embrace empathy, and always seek the good in every situation. I'm Andrea Gordon signing off from Realizations. See you next time.